Hey Rovers, in this episode we're doing all the final prep to put that cabin top on. The Wave Rover 650, a design based on my single-handed ocean voyages. She's small, light, but easy to build, and strong enough to cross any ocean. My name's Alan Mulholland, and this is the Wave Rover story. So previously, I got all the ring frames in. Between the ring frames and the bulkheads, we're pretty much finished on that end of the structure. So now what I need to do I need to get all the stringers put in that will connect all the ring frames of bulkheads together. They're running fore and aft. Before I put them in, I have to level out those ring frames, and then I also want to see if I can squeeze in some handholds into the gussets of those ring frames, which would be terrific if I can do that. That'll give me somewhere where I can hang on in rough weather. Now, what do the stringers do? Well, as I said, they connect everything together, but they help to align everything into its right place. They strengthen all those structural components, the ring frames and the bulkheads. But then finally, they also give us a really, really good gluing surface for the cabin top, which is what we're aiming for. Anyway, there's a lot to do. Time to crack on. So a really easy way to level out all these ring frames is to just use a little batten and then just cut a notch in it. So I've already done this one, and you can just, when it's high, you can run up over it, and then you just hold your pencil on the underside and that gives you a line. I've actually made all the ring frames just about a 1/16 to an 1/8 of an inch shorter than what would be level. And the reason, and that's about a 1/16 there, and the reason for that is when we put the plywood on, the plywood would span from here to halfway on this bulkhead, and then when it comes time to glue this, I can actually wet out this on a separately, and then put a fillet that'll squeeze right in on top. But on the bulkheads, they have to get glued up when the plywood goes down. So here's an example of one that I haven't done, and you can see right here that this ring frame is actually taller than the two bulkheads. And that was done on purpose so that we can lower it exactly to where we need it. It's just a whole lot easier to do it that way. So that's where this notch sits either side. So I just want to hold the pencil on there, and then you just move it along. You end up with a nice little index line right along here, and that's the amount I have to remove. Now, you don't want to remove that on level. That's actually on a slope. This whole cabin top is sloping forward. So it's actually, if I made the line on the aft side of this ring frame, the line would be a little bit higher. But you can do that by eye. It's not a big deal. You can just see what the slope of this and this is, and just adjust whatever tool you're going to use. So I'm going to use the power plane on that, but you could use a sander of some kind. A belt sander would be great. So I'll use the power plane, and I might just clean it up at the end with the belt sander. We'll do that right now. Okay, so let's just take a look at what we have here. So we're still a bit high there, and we're high there, but here we're really good because I already did that with the grinder. And there we're high, and that's no surprise because I can see my pencil line still. There we go. So I'm just going to hit that with the belt sander. Okay, we're 99% of the way there. I could just afford to take a tiny bit more off. I'll do that off camera, and then of course I'll switch sides and get the rest done. It's really just that easy. It doesn't take hardly any time at all. If I changed up and used a more aggressive belt on the sander, it would be faster work, but I like having more control with the belt that I have on right now. To make the stringers, I'm using 1-inch thick clear pine that I've been storing now for almost a year. Now before I can pass this pine through the table saw, I have to create one straight edge, and I'm using my worm drive skill saw for this because it is almost as good as a table saw. Then after ripping them down to the right width, you can do a round over on 2 of the edges. I'm using a 3/8 round over bit with a bushing in my router.
Tell us what you're doing.
So we're getting ready to put the stringers in, and we have 1, 2, 3, 6 that'll come across this nice curved section of cabin. They'll connect all of the ring frames together. And Steve is here. He's behind the camera, but Steve has been doing great work. He's prepared all the stringers for us. You want to just pan over there and take a look at all those? So he's run the router over them. That's all clear pine. And that's enough stock to see us through doing the entire cabin top. So what do they do? As I said earlier in the video, they keep these ring frames in position because that seems weak right now. You know, I can flex it back and forth. But once these stringers are in, this isn't moving, and you'd be able to hang directly on this. It would support, you know, a tremendous amount of weight. And of course, they're glued in with a massive fillet. So that's what I'm doing. Happy you're here, Stephen.
Crack on.
So we've got Stephen here, Stephen Marinelli, and he's doing a great job. What are we working on here, Stephen?
Working on your handholds here.
Yeah. And so I've got 4 of them in total. I've got another one worked into this gusset here and the same on the port side. It just seemed like a great idea when I was thinking out the gussets to make them oversized so that I can get these handholds. When you can get something to do double duty, in this case, you know, we've got gussets that are holding up the weight of the beams going across here, but also as a handhold, you know, that's what you want on a small boat. You want to have things doing more than one job if you can at all engineer it in. Thanks very much. Stephen's just rounding them out so we can run a router through there. Well, it is a balmy -6 in here. So look at this. Nice and round. I mean, this will be perfect. And, you know, other side, I'm never far away from a handhold. Got 2 more. You know, look at that. I've even tested it where I'm laying down on the bunk. I can reach up and grab it to pull myself out. And another one here. Really nice work. Thanks very much. Steve, who's behind the camera, he did all the routering and rounded them out for me. Top-notch job. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, the next step is to create the pockets that the stringers will sit into.
Talk about your notches here,
Oh,
Alan.
yes. So we have different size notches here. We have these big 3-inch. Now these are interesting because these are going to run all the way from this bulkhead all the way to the crash or to the watertight bulkhead, and we'll be cutting this section right out, and that's because this is where the mast is coming through. And these 3-inch pieces are extra strong because they're they're transferring the loads that the mast fitting will be applying as we go along. Apart from that, all the rest of the stringers, like this one, starts here and ends here. So, you know, there's, and of course we have to notch all the ring frames too. So that's what we've been up against for the last, well, not that long, really, 2 or 3 hours to get them all laid out and cut. So I'm going to break up this video with a little bit of unboxing. As you can see, I have a mountain of boxes that have been, you know, these have been arriving for a few weeks now, and I'll just show you a couple of them. So the first item is this Fortress anchor, and now Fortress has sent me 2 of them, and they're really cool because, I mean, this is what it looks like when it's assembled, but these anchors break right down to just this little space right here, and they only weigh 4 pounds each, and they're made out of an aluminum alloy so it doesn't rust. And then in addition to that, they sent me these little bags right here. They're padded, and the anchor fits into those, and it can be stowed away. So, I mean, this is just a marvelous thing for a little boat, to have an anchor that collapses down to nothing, takes up very little space, and they were really nice. They sent me 2, I guess, just in case I lose one, or you know, I have to abandon one. And the flukes, that's this portion right here, they're adjustable. You can set them for either 32 degrees, which is meant for sand, mud, or clay, or 45 degrees, which is meant for soft mud. I mean, the whole thing together weighs a total of 4 pounds, but has amazing holding ability. So that's one anchor, or in this case, Fortress sent me 2. So the FX7 is sized for boats between 16 to 27 feet, I believe. And the second anchor we've received is an anchor from Mantus, and it's a 17-pound anchor. So let's just see what it looks like. So again, Mantus has come up with an anchor just like the Fortress anchor. In a sense, it breaks right down. So the beauty of these anchors, that they break down, just makes it so easy to stow these for long-term cruising or ocean voyaging, which is, you know, one of those things that you have to think about when you have a really small boat. So thank you very much, Fortress and Mantus, for sponsoring Wave Rover with these, you know, these truly are great anchors. Well, I plan to open a few boxes every few videos in order to get this mountain, well, to get it shifted and out of the living room. Now let's head back in and get those stringers glued up. Okay, I've got everything wetted out. We're ready to go now to get a glue into all these notches and the ends of all these pine stringers. And in the glue up room where we're mixing the glue, we have Mrs. Rover sticking it into a baggie for me. Thank you very much, Mrs. Rover. Do you have time to say hi to the Rover fans?
Hello, everybody.
Well, Rovers, that went really well. But you're going to have to take my word for it because we had a bit of a camera glitch and we didn't actually catch all the gluing up. But it was pretty straightforward, and really, where does the time go in one of these big glue ups? It doesn't go into the actual setting the wood into the glue. It goes into the cleaning up after, the tooling the fillets to make them presentable, and so we have a nice interior when it's painted. Now, I'd like to give a great big thank you to both Mrs. Rover and Stephen Marinelli. Now, next week is going to be an even bigger accomplishment than this week. We are going to get the plywood on the cabin top. A huge step forward. Now, I also want to leave you with our new motto for the upcoming voyage. And the motto is, forge your own adventure. I'd like to take a moment to honor the Wave Rover benefactors. So what is a benefactor? Well, these folks have made a contribution of $100 US or more to the project, and their names will be affixed to a bulkhead inside Wave Rover and will be traveling with me on our circumnavigation. Now, these donations truly are much appreciated. Well, the Wave Rover patrons, with their pledges of support, really do make the creation of these videos possible. Now, if you'd like to know more about Wave Rover's patron page and benefactors bulkhead, I have links to both those pages in the video description. Now, another way to help Wave Rover, and it doesn't cost you a dime, is by sharing our content on your social media. So now, as always, Rovers, thanks for watching. Give us one more.